very good morning. Sanimukela lomhla ekseni kungumsombuluko. It is the 25th of December. Sesemakusini kahle lomhla ekseni ilanga lelikhulekile bese solo sililinzile lilanga lekutalwa kwaJesu Kristu waseNazareth. Christmas is an annual festival commemorating the birth of Jesus Christ observed on this day, the 25th of December, as a religious and cultural celebration among billions of people around the world. Bamvukela abanengi balikubha lelanga with their loved ones legumindeni yabo kanye nebangani babo. Kulelanga lenje imindeni leminingi ivame ukuhlangana ipheke isidlo sasemini ijabule ifiselane dilokotfule tinhle kanti ke labanye bacala emasonweni bayo celebrate lelanga leli emasonweni abo. Langa ke lekujabula so sithemba nje ukuthi nijabulile amasonto lamahle lapho nikhona lomhla ekseni kanti ke kusenjalo nje there are those that have lost their loved ones during Christmas holidays kanti ke kulabo bantu labo sithi mathuthu. Sithemba nje ukuthi indaba nelanga lelihle naleliphephile nalelibusisekile. Nasibuka nje aba temperatures kubhekile ukuthi ama temperatures kuletinye tindzawo abe cool kanti kuletinye tindzawo nje sibonile ukuthi kwangathi liyana timvula ticale itolo. Kuletinye etihamba imbili lethothamba imbili ngiwonje umkhosi lomkhulu wengcwala losolo uqhubeka lapho sive siholwa inkosi Mswati wesithathu kanye nendlovukazi imhlekazi. Namuhla nje lomkhosi ungena elangeni lelishumi nakuthathu 13th day of ingcwala ceremony. Emva kwelekhefu nje sitawunethulela umbiko ukuthi ingcwala ihambe kanjani elangeni la itolo. Sitawube seke sibuka netemidlalo lebetenteka kulempela sonto na Linda Master Dlamini. Siphinde sibuka naletinye lethamba imbili kulamanye emave emhlaba. Hlala nathi sitakwethulela lona lihlelo lefu. Good morning and welcome to the show. Thank you for joining us. Asaselkhefu nasibuya sathatha indzaba Eswatini.
Umsakazo wetithombe iEswatini TV utibophelele kuhlonipha nekulandzela umgomo wetekusakata loweluswe libandla letekuchumana eveni.
Ngephansi kwalomgomo sitimisele kusakata tindzaba letenteka ngaleso sikhathi tindzaba letide emagama laqosheme letitsembekile letitsinza tonke tinhlangothi naletisebaleni
kusukela kutepolitiki, tetemphilo, tekulima, tetinkantolo netemhlaba wonke jikelele. Siniletsela tindzaba njengoba tinjalo ngaleso sikhathi letenteka ngaso.
Kanzi kulomsakato siphinde sikulethele lonke luhlobo lwetemidlalo kusuka emidlalweni welibhola letinyawo kuye emidlalweni ledlalelwa ematafuleni kanye naleto letiqhamuka ngaphandle kwakuleli.
Leti tindzaba lowutiletselwa ngumsakazo wetithombe iEswatini TV.
Asimze sinimukele nathi tindzaba. Ingonyama echubekile nokuhola sive kugidweni kwengcwala lencane esigodlweni ebuhleni esunzeni sakahoho. Umkhosi wengcwala songena elangeni lelishumi nakubili.
Godlweni ebuhleni esifundzeni sakahoho ingonyama ihole emabutho ngesikhathi umhlaba uqhubeka nekuhlonipha umkhosi welive lomkhulu incwala. Incwala lencane seyihlanganise emalanga lalishumi kusukela yaqala. Ngemambala ke kube kuhle njengobe ingonyama ithe uma igidza yasingathwa bomake emakhosikati yasingathwa abantu abenkosi nawo ke emabutho ngekwehlukana kwawo lagidze ngemdlandla nangekuzitha lokukhulu ayithatha kumnikati. Ingonyama besingethwe nangumvunankulu welive Miso Dlamini. ngoba ebuhleni kungilapho kuphumela khona ingatsha isifundza sakahoho nembala seyivele iyabonakala nayo ebuthweni iyafuthelana iyasho ithi asale kuba njalo siphume siye khona. Sikuyawuvele kuvakale ngaye-ke umnikati ukuthi litawudzabuka nini libutho letingatsha kusuka ebuhleni lilibangise esigodlweni engabeveni. Kodwa nje-ke kuyabonakala ukuthi bafana balomnyamase bavele beme ngemumo. Kubika Sandile Makhanya esigodlweni ebuhleni.
EmaSwati angenele umkhosi wencwala ngebuningi bawo naselangeni leli-12 esigodlweni eLitsitsini lapho aholwa khona indlovukazi Mhlakazi.
Elangeni leli-12 solo incwala lencane yaqala esigodlweni eLitsitsini sive seMaSwati siphume ngetinkane kuyawugitha lapho abesikade siholwa khona indlovukazi Mhlekazi. Akukhathalekile ukuthi leli lilanga lilandzelwa lusuku lwaKhisimisi, sive solo sikhomba inshisekelo yaso yokuthanda nekulondoloda emasiko. Emabutho ngekwehlukana kwawo avakele ayivuma ingoma emkhunjini. Incwala lencane yacela khona lapha esigodlweni eLitsitsini ngokuthi silo semhlaba kanye nendlovukazi Mhlekazi bahole sive kuyigitha yase imbobo yemhlaba ichubekela kuletinye tigodlo letisetifundeni telive. Lilanga lelikhulula lomkhosi selivele liyasondzela lapho khona emakhosi atawuhlanganyela neMaSwati labanxusele emave abo kuleli nalabo labanxusele tinhlangano leti bambisa live kutentuthuko kanye netivakashi kwatise ukuthi lo mkhosi sewakhanga umhlaba wonke. Etitsapeni kubika Pholile Maziya esigodlweni eLitsitsini.
Tivakashi kanye nalabe babuya kuleli labangene egedeni engwenya bathi bathemba ukuthi batawuphatheka kahle baselapha eveni. Tivakashi tivakalise inshisekelo yokuvakashela tindzawo letinyenti tengcebeleka letahlukene kuleli nekuya encwaleni lechubekako.
Intsatseliti yalomsakato tfole ukuthi tivakashi kanye neMaSwati lamanyenti angena kuleli ngalesine kuya kulesihlanu. Tivakashi kanye neMaSwati labangene kuleli bathi bete kutobona buhle bela kuleli, labanye basibete tinkonzweni, labanye basibete kutovakashela tihlobo tabo.
Ufuna ukuthi ngibone iSwaziland ukuthi ime kanjani. Nalokunye ke ngicabanga ukuthi I expected a lot ukuthi how is it, are they going to give me the service?
I'm here to visit family, and that's in Stegi, but I'll also be visiting Malkerns with my daughter.
I'm here back home. I've got family here at home, so yeah, I'm just expecting to enjoy myself.
Good food, smiley people, and Merry Christmas.
We stay for 2 days,
Only today.
and we're going to visit only.
And we got the boat here, so hopefully we can take the boat on Maguga.
See my sister?
Yeah, and your dad?
And my dad.
Okay.
Yeah.
From?
For Christmas from South Africa, from Joburg.
Ngena Eswatini kusekhaya Eswatini and siyakhona emgidweni umgidvo lisuku lethu sineSimaswati into lesithokotelako ngeminyaka njengoba ubona nje ukuthi libalele awunaseyicala incwala selivele selicalile sesiyana lemakhaya.
Siyalela siphethwe khona thina endlingulu yethu engcoseni siyakhona ukukhisimusi. Siyakhisimusi njalo ngeminyaka khisimusi siudlela le
Imetamu ekutfola sibalo salabangena emagedini onke lakuleli kusuka ngalesine ayikaba impumelelo. Litiko letekuvakasha latibekela kutsi ngeminyaka wa 2027 lakuleli libe litfola tivakashi letingu-2 million ngeminyaka, kanti letivakashi tisebentisa imali lefika ku-2 billion emalangeni tisekuleli. Etindzabeni kubika Fortune Dlangamandla, Nginasonto Mlangeni, sisegedeni eNgwenya.
Balimi labafuye timbuti kanye netiklabhu bathi isikhathi sakhisimusi ngesinye setikhathi teminyaka lapho bathengelwa khona imikhicido yabo ngelinani lelijabulisako. Labalimi baluleka labanye labafuna kungenela loluhlobo lwebhizinisi ukuthi babe nenhlitiyo yokubeketela nabasaqala ngoba letilwane tithatha isikhathi kulungela ukuthi dithengiswe.
Njengoba konke umuntu lonebhizinisi yabuke kuklomula kulokuphithitela kwesive esilungiselela khisimusi nekuvula umnyaka lomusha, balimi labalimela kuthengisa nabo abakasaleli emuva njengoba bathi lesikhathi bebasilungiselele. Musa Motha wasendzaweni yasesigulaneni esiphocosini uchaza ngebhizinisi yakhe etiklabhu netimbuti.
Ikhona impilo la kuletilwane kakhulu. Sengithi abantu abaningi labancane nje bafuna umsebenzi close abacedzile esikoleni but abathola umsebenzi. Kanzi lana kuyaphileka kakhulu. Uyabona. So mina lengakusho nje ngaba encourage abantu labancane ukuthi bangacala mhlambe nga2 noma 3.
Themba Mkhaliphi ngumfuyi kaMamba eSt Phillips uthi emakhasimende emkhicido wakhe ahlale akhona umnyaka wonke.
Laso utifuyile utibona ukuthi nathi setikhona ube ngilokhona kutinakelela. Titoba tinhle kahle kuyaphileka kakhulu impilo ikhona ngoba ikakhulu intsengo yembuti lamhla hayi inhle kakhulu.
Umbiko welubalo lwelitiko letekulima i-livestock census wangeminyaka wa 2021 uthi timbuti letikuleli tingetulu kwetingulungwane letingemakhulu 5 kanti tiklabhu netimvu tona tibalelwa etingulungwaneni leti18 nje kuphela. Etindzabeni te-Eswatini TV kubika Mbongwa Dube naThemba Shabangu eMbabane.
Kuhamba kwetitimela kuphatamisekile njengoba sipolo sesitimela emkhathini wasensoko nakalavumisa sivaliwe. Lokuvalwa kwalesipolo kubangwe ukuthi kube nesitimela senkampani yaka-Transnet eNingizimu Afrika lesiphume esipolweni sawa. Lokuxhumanisa inkampani yakaloliwe Sive Manana uyachaza ngalesehlakalo.
Umqiniso ukuthi kube ne-derailment, sikubika nge-derailment, futhi nje isitimela i-locomotive noma singasenhloko yesitimela lephumile uJantshi. Isitimela lesichamuke ePhalaborwa lesiya eRichards Bay sithwele i-magnetite lesigcine sesibe nale unfortunate development. Otherwise kumpilo limele usesemelwe nje ukuthi utholakala imishini eqhamuka evela kumakhelwane eSouth Africa lengasita ukuthi kudonswe phakanyiswe lenye inhloko ibuyiswe esipolweni. Namuhla nje langa lonke lilayini livaliwe kusho sithi itimela leliqhamuka letiya eDurban naletiya eRichards Bay naletiqhamuka khona kanjalo titsikametekile vele kude kwenteka kulelo layini.
Emaswati lamanyenti edolobheni kaManzini naseMbabane bekaphume ngebunyenti athenga kudla kwakhisimusi kanti lamanye alamaswati bekabhekise emabombo emakhaya. Lamaswati la axoxisene nalomsakato la emakhaya athi kumgcoka ukuthi ikhisimusi umuntu awudlene emndeni wakhe.
Umthwalo usebhokweni ayahamba emaswati ayodla kukhisimusi emakhaya. Lamaswati laxoxisene nalomsakato achaza ngebomcoka ebekuba nemndeni kulama holiday.
Sihambele ngoJanuwari thina labayisibabhungu sesibiyele emakhaya manje.
Okomcoka kejana mina ngiyemndenini wami ngoba ngidena lo mndeni ngiyojuma la ngiyojuma khona.
Kumcoka kakhulu ukuthi sibe nemndeni esawe Christmas because siba nebond nemndeni yethu.
Kuba kakhulu uba nomndeni wakho nawuma holidays because ngekulunga ukuthi abantu abakho babe bodwa ukuze batojabula kufuna kube nababo umntala bakhona ekhaya.
Umcoka kakhulu ukuthi uye ekhaya ngakhisimusi uyobona abantwana uhlale emndeni wakho hayi kudlela khisimusi emcashweni.
Tonke izinto takho vele izeqhubeka funa uye ekhaya uyawungcwatsha ekhaya kusekhaya akusithi ukuthi ubaleke kanti utabatsini ekhaya.
Lokunakekile ukuthi amaphoyisa nanawo bayakazi aphume ngebunyenti iqinisekisa ukuthi kuba bede ecala lobuvelako bekaze kunemalayini lamathi kuletinye tetitolo emshinini ekhipha imali ema-ATM kani lamanye lamaswathi bekateleze ukugibela emabhasi la emakhaya etindzabeni kubika Fortune Dlangamandla Nginathemba Shabangu sikaManzini.
Inkampani lethengisa petroleum Total Energies ibambisene nenhlangano Esicalisa Foundation seyinikelele bogogo labanye 40 kudla lokulinganiselwa ngetulo kwetinkulungwane letinye 80,000. Umphathi wenkampani yaka Total Energies Nalini Naika uthi lenkampani ijabuliswa kubuyisela emuva emangweni.
Tihlathi tivakashele tindlebe kubogogo nabomkhulu bemphakathi wakanzangu ngalesithathu ngesikhathi inkampani lethengisa petroleum Total Energies ibambisene neSicalisa Foundation inikelela labamfu labadzala kudla.
It's about giving back to the community. We in the country.
Umphathi wenkampani yaka Total Energies Nalini Naika uthi bakubone kukuhle ukuthi baphe bogogo ngesikhathi semaholide akhisimusi kude kuthi nabo bangesweli labatokudla. Sibonza senhlangano Sicalisa Foundation imbungathoni Sibanze ibongele bogogo ngekuthi batikhanze bayingcenye yala banikelelwako.
Unesizathu namhla sokusimofika uthandaze. Utithandazele wena, uthandazele nana inhlangano yeTotal nalo MD nale staff.
Bogogo nabomkhulu batibekele kanjena.
Ngiswela lemilomo bogogo bathi baswela lemilomo kubo. Kuthi beba ngathini. Kulo kwentendile ngoba bebangathi lo sibatawe njani batawudlani.
Lomo wekubonga. Sise siyothola umhlambiso. Siyothola naloku yethunjini.
Inkampani yaka Total Energies ayicalike kunikelela abantu labadzala njengoba eminyakeni lophelile yanikelela bogogo endzaweni yaseGilgal kanti inhlangano yeSicalisa Foundation yona ichubeke njalo nekuthuthukisa timpilo temaswati leswele ngekuwakhela tindlu tekulala. Umbiko uhlanganiswe ngithembelihle Magutshwa nganzangu.
Bomake labacupha emaveni abomakhelwane bathengise bathe itinkinga lebetikhona kulamanye emave hulumende sokhonile ukuthi sombulula kanye namatiko latsinsekako kulamave. Mengameli walenhlangano yabomake Thobile Dube uthi bakhonile kusebenta noma baphazanyiswe ukukhula kwenthengo yetimvo lokwende ukuthi bese tindleko tekucupha tiyakhula.
Live la Kangwane linetivumelwano tekuthengiselana ngaphansi kwetinhlelo kanye netinhlangano letifaka ekhatsi SADC Comesa kanye-ke nenhlangano isakho lokwenda ukuthi bomake labacuphako balapha eveni bakhone kungena kulamanye emave abomakhelwane bacuphe imikhicito labajinge bayithengise. Mengameli walenhlangano ke yabomake labacupha kulamanye emave Thobile Dube uthi ke tinkinga lebetikhona kulamanye emave hulumende utisombululile.
With South Africa side inkinga kukahle kakhulu eMozambique cishe hulumende sina hulumende sikhala sekungcono sisi emigwaqweni abasasimisi basifuna ama-passport wazi wasimisa sivele sibona ukuthi ngisidlani ngelo abasakwendi sisi sesihamba kanje cishe ngcono kakhulu ngisiyabadumisa lapho. Policy sicelile sisuka ukuthi sikema SMEs nathi cross border nalahleli eveni adayisa phase ema traders basi engage sitokhona nathi kubeka tikhalo tethu.
Labo somabhizinisi baphenzeka babe sethubeni lelihle lekuba ingcenye yelihlelo lokuthengiselana kwemave ase-Afrika ngaphandle kwengcabekelwano ye-Africa Continental Free Trade Area. Etindzabeni kubika Sondomlangeni kuna Fortune Dlangamandla kaManzini.
Umphathi wamaphoyisa esiteshini sasesipofaneni Oscar Motha uthi benda konke lokusemandleni abo uthi baqinisekise kuphepha kwemaswati nakulesikhathi semaholide. Motha ukhulume lokhu ngesikhathi amaphoyisa asesipofaneni yasemgwaqweni ku-roadblock ngasebhulorweni laseLesotho wahlolisisa timotolo ukuthi tiphephile yini kulokunye.
Ngenhloso yokuqinisekisa kuphepha kwesive sasesiphofaneni amaphoyisa angenele umgwaqo abamba roadblocks emgwaqweni lo ngenako nalo phumako esiphofaneni. Umphathi wamaphoyisa esiteshini esiphofaneni Oscar Mota uthi leti tikhathi letiphithite lako esiphofaneni kanti nelizinga lebucala liye lenyuke kungako betama ukugwema bokuqala lobungahle buhlongote.
Solo sivalela lona leli dolobha ukuthi wonke nalo seva ukuthi ngathi sodenanga emanti laphambanisa umqondo ladukisa umqondo abukeke lamgwaqweni bese siyamthatha simbeke enzaweni yalabashayela abadle lokho dzadzewethu asali kudla kodwa sithi lisadla liswadi alidle responsibly likhona ukuthi lento ukuthi kungenteki bese kwenteka ingodi emgwaqweni siselapho dzadzewethu sitawuqwayisa kakhulu kuthi sengito tikhathi taboncibijana nabo Khisimusi lapho khona wonke umuntu excited sisi ufuna ukuchitha imali yakhe ngayo yonke indlela sithi asakwenda lokho akacabange ukuthi imali yakhe ingaphepha kanjani sitsenkwe sithi kude imali lekufanele ukuthi sesiphofaneni ihambe ngendlela lengekho phecelezi somabhizinisi sobanjiwe somukwe imali cha sicaphele kona sisi lo lokubona la dolobheni nje ubona kona mbambe amaphoyisa akhona khonela ukuthi kube bede imali lehamba ngendlela lengafanele kube bede umuntu lo limala emgwaqweni ngendlela lengafanele sengito tikhathi lapho khona imfula yethu igcwele isagcwele imfula yethu tingwenya nato atikayi kuyawulala hawo singacela esiveni sicele kubo batali liyashisa lona dzadzewethu njengoba ubona siphofaneni likhokha umkhovetsheni kodwa kungena lapha nengwenya nayo ibuka emathuba.
Mota uphindze wakhuta ngelivile liqinile ukuthi bamfana abangadijabulisi ngekuthi babhukushe elisuthu nasemseleni lekhona esiphofaneni njengoba lokho ke kungayiqedza injabulo ngekukhokha umphefumulo. Umbiko uhlanganiswe ngithembelihle Magutsho esiphofaneni.
Amaphoyisa eMango endzaweni yakuphumula mcashi abambe lijaha lebelithwele timvo ledebiwe nakugcekezwa etindzaweni letehlukene esigodzini sakamamba. Lelijaha lisetandleni temaphoyisa.
Lelijaha lelingeke likhonjiswe isithombe salo njengoba lisengakavele enkantolo libanjwe ngetisithuba tensimbi yesine ekuseni nalisahamba emgwaqweni losemasimini emoba lethwele lo mthwalo lebewusolisa. Lithena libutwa liphoyisa leMango ngalomthwalo labese lihoshula umukhwa kanti leliphoyisa leMango lona beliphethe icelemba nalo la uhoshula lathi lijaha galo yephuka kanti alikabute langene njengoba baligijimise balibamba. Ngidlanqa Mphalala lobuke esigodzi sakamamba uthi sewanzile umkhuba wekugcekeza kule yandzawo.
Kunemonakalo lokhona bebafana labaganga landzangana labagcekezako bacekeze ke-office lesinye scheme phindze bagcekeza esikolweni nasesondweni bathatha lamakhompyutha imishini yokutypa lesondweni bathethe le system lengiyona bayisebenzisa lena nabathandaza. Oqala sebenyukile kakhulu likakhulu kule genge lensha nje ngoba ngalathi embutini bayatithatha bayotithengisa lentansi bolunkundu bathi shonise lentansi bolibonjeni.
Umxhumanisi wamaphoyisa nesive ephindile Vilakade uvumile lo mbiko wathi sekuboshwe emajaha lamabili ngalokugcekeza kule yandzawo kanti kubheke ukuthi avele enkantolo masinyane. Etindzabeni te-Eswatini TV kubika Mbongwa Dube naThemba Shabangu ephumula mcashi.
Kutemidlalo umqeqeshi welicembu le-Young Buffaloes Mandla Dlamini uthi kuncoba kwabo ukumbabana Highlanders emagoli lasihlanu ecanzeni ngumlayeto kulamanye amaqembu ukuthi sababuyile balicembu futhi lamaqembu lamanye akacaphele isigaba sesibili semidlalo ye-M10 Premier League. Dlamini bekakhuluma ngemuva kwalomdlalo lodlelelwe enkundleni yakalanga esiteki.
Liqembu le-Young Buffaloes alikaqali kahle isigaba sekuqala semidlalo ye-M10 Premier League eminyaka 2023-2024 nakuqhathaniswa naleminye iminyaka. Leli qembu linamaphuzu lamashumi lilandzela i-Green Mamba ngamaphuzu lasikhombisa. Kodwa ke emidlalweni wokugcina leli udlalile kulomnyaka losetulu inqobile ngempama emagoli ecanzeni kumbabana Highlanders.
Sikhonile kubuya after ama-set results against Bomadlenya and all the other teams leswaluzile. But this is a message sisaya ku second round. Leya namuhla lokuthi will come back strongly second round. But mentally sibe strong sanga lose focus just like ku last season.
but sinabasikahlela sasesesiluza le focus sesiconcentrate kulesicathulo. But this time around Shito, let's be first to the ball on our half, asibe quick.
Kanti umqeqeshi wembabana Highlanders Dumisani Makhanya yena ngemuva kwalomdlalo ukhale kakhulu ngelikhadi lelibovu lelitholwa ngunozinti wakhe.
We put pressure, in fact, in the second half, the first 10-15 minutes. Wow, hey, but the red card, Gansi is limited. Gansi, the game changed from there. Yes, limited. But it's part of the game. You can't run away from it. I'm still cool about the red card, but nothing I can do.
Imbabana Highlanders yona ngemuva komdlalo leli-13 inamaphuzu la-10 Ubikela umsakathi Eswatini TV kutemidlalo ngilinda Dlamini kanti sithombe umfana futhi Bhembe embabane.
Umdlali welicembu lembabane Swallows Lopinzi adlalele nelikhethelo lesive sihlangu samnikati kwakhe Thwala uthi angeke kuphatamise ukudlala kwakhe ecenjini lemkhondo kaShaka kuthi ufunwa licembu la7 laseNingizimu Afrika eChippa United. Thwala bekakhuluma ngemuva kokuthi yabuye kuyotilolonga neMachili Boys kuleli viki.
Kwakhe Thwala nakucala liviki lesilphethako wamenywa licembu lidlala ngaphasi kwe-DStv Premiership eveni laseNingizimu Afrika iChippa United ukuthi litombuka njengoba lifisa ukuthi atolidlalela. Ngokusho kwakhe Thwala ufike wamukeleka kahle ecenjini leChippa kanzi futhi kufunwa amacembu ngaphandle kwakuleli kutawenda ukuthi achubeke nekutimisela.
Bangifuna konyalo bangiboneke imbabane Swallows so lokho ngeke kungaffect awusi fight kumbabane Swallows nginike konke ledeserve because if it's deserve lokukhulu kakhulu empilweni. Kungasho into lenkulu kakhulu because into lokho kutawu khipha sombele sihle ngebhola kangwane. Kangangokuthi makuma ubuka ukuthi justice ngeyethu lokho lokhona eSouth Africa but nami sengangithethe la kulesibalo ukuthi kube khona ama international national team yethu ngichansi kungasita kakhulu lokho. Ngifisela eMaswati Christmas lomuhle nokujuba umnyaka lomusha.
Thwala beka incenye abadlali bembabane Swallows labadlale nelicembu le-Ilovo lapho khona badlale ngakulingana ngelicanza ecanzeni kanzi kungunyalo omunye kuphela umdlali udlala ngaphasi kwe-DStv Premiership lokunguJustice Figueredo lodlala ilicembu le-Richards Bay. Ubikela umsakathi Eswatini TV kutemidlalo ngilinda Dlamini naFortune Dlamandla embabane.
28 minutes after 7 ngaleto temidlalo sathi bekade inzaba Deadfoot eSiswati asaselikhefu nasibuya sichubeka netangephandle kwakuleli.
We at Eswatini Television Authority are committed to observing the Eswatini Communication Commission's Broadcasting Code of Conduct.
Under the code, we are committed to broadcast news that is current, free from hate speech, accurate, balanced, and fair.
From politics to business, health, agriculture, courts, and global news, we bring you the latest updates as they happen, when they happen.
We cover all the sporting codes from the football pitch to the chessboards.
This is Eswatini TV News.
Welcome back. Sasibukena tileti hamba embili kulamanye emave. 2023 demolished temperature records worldwide. It was the hottest year on record, and some scientists say the hottest in 125,000 years. Those supercharged temperatures helped drive a series of climate disasters around the world.
Wildfires in Canada, flooding in Libya. 2 disasters in a year of weather extremes. 2023 will go down as the hottest year on record. Every month from June through November was the hottest for that time of year.
July 2023 was the warmest July on record for the globe. It was the warmest July by a long shot.
September's global temperatures were so much hotter than normal that one climate scientist called them absolutely gobsmackingly bananas. Relentless heating from human-driven climate change, plus the periodic global weather phenomenon known as El Nino, drove extreme weather around the world.
So we know with this extra heat in the atmosphere, it brings with it extra energy, which means we get more intense extreme events.
Not every bout of bad weather is due to climate change. But climate scientists, with the World Weather Attribution website, found the fingerprints of global warming on these weather disasters. In April, Thailand and Laos broke all-time high temperature records. Scientists say that heat wave was nearly impossible without climate change. The Western Mediterranean shattered temperature records that month, and a heat wave made 100 times more likely. Southern Europe roasted again in July. So did China and the United States-Mexico border region. The southwestern U.S. city of Phoenix logged 31 days over 43.3 degrees Celsius, or 110 Fahrenheit. That's a record.
This is not a record anyone wanted to break, but it's definitely one that people in Phoenix are not happy about.
The intensity of these heat waves was almost impossible without climate change, according to World Weather Attribution. But on today's hotter planet, we can expect them every 5, 10, or 15 years. Higher temperatures dry out soils and vegetation faster. That helped make the record-breaking wildfires that ravaged eastern Canada this year at least 7 times more likely and 50% more intense. That's also what amplified the severe droughts in Syria, Iraq, and Iran, and the food security crisis in Somalia and the rest of the Horn of Africa. Both were made at least 100 times more likely.
Although Somalia makes virtually no contribution to climate change, the Somalis are among the greatest victims.
Climate change intensifies droughts, but also floods, because warmer air holds more water, which means heavier rainstorms, like the one that burst dams in Libya in September and killed thousands. The World Weather Attribution team says it was 50 times more likely and 50% more intense than it would have been without climate change. And November's torrential rains in the Horn of Africa were about twice as intense.
Already the drought has brought many people in the area to the brink of what they are able to deal with. And this now followed by floods really shows the limits of what people can adapt to are really not far off in many parts of the world. And as long as we are keeping burning fossil fuels, these things will happen again and again and again.
Forecasters say El Nino probably will taper off around the middle of next year, but there's no sign that climate change is letting up. As we continue to warm the planet, weather that used to be extreme is happening more and more often.
Israel continues its military operations against Hamas and its allies ahead of one of Christianity's major holidays. But in the United States, officials warn of heightened threats due to the conflict in Gaza. Viewer discretion is advised on the following story.
Christmas Eve in Gaza, the Israeli military releases footage claiming to show snippets of what it described as intense operations in northern Gaza and to the south in Khan Yunis. Israel says its strikes target areas of Hamas infrastructure. Meanwhile, Palestinians in Khan Yunis gathered the bodies of their dead ahead of a funeral service following an overnight airstrike. Much of the world has for weeks been calling for extended breaks in fighting to deliver desperately needed aid to civilians living in Palestinian territories. U.S. President Joe Biden, wishing reporters a Merry Christmas, said he had a long talk with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. Biden called the details private, but said he did not ask for a ceasefire. Meanwhile, in Tel Aviv, Netanyahu spoke at his weekly cabinet meeting. He confirmed the conversation with Biden, adding that Israel is a sovereign state with wartime considerations that would not be dictated by external pressures. The conflict in Gaza threatens to spill outside the Middle East, with U.S. officials warning of a spike in anti-American sentiment due to Washington's support of Israel.
We're helping Israel deal with the destruction of Hamas, defending themselves after October the 7th. Jihadist groups all over the world are calling on their members to attack America as payback for us helping Israel.
The Hamas-controlled Gaza Health Ministry says at least 20,000 Palestinians have died since the campaign against the group began following the October 7 attacks that killed 1,200 in Israel. U.S. officials say there is concern the country's support for Israel may bring blowback to the American homeland.
The current conflict is causing, I think, contributing to a heightened threat environment. What we are seeing is foreign terrorist organizations taking advantage and calling upon their adherents to act, to do something. And then we're seeing individuals and small groups that we worry will basically take twisted inspiration from the conflict overseas and from the very searing images that we're seeing that came out of the brutal terrorist attacks that occurred on October 7th.
At a time when Christians celebrate Christmas, a mostly silent night creeps through one of the religion's most important cities.
The whole world is celebrating Christmas this year, but not Bethlehem, not the birthplace of our Lord Jesus Christ. Bethlehem is celebrating Christmas with sadness and sorrow because of what's happening in Gaza and in all the West Bank, all Palestinian territories.
Bethlehem's churches this year framed the nativity theme depicting the birth of Jesus Christ in barbed wire and rubble, a show of solidarity with the people of Gaza. Officials here say tourism this year dropped from 2.3 million up to September to no tourists since.
The entire 2.3 million population of Gaza is facing crisis levels of hunger, and the risk of famine is increasing each day. A UN-backed body said in a report published on Thursday. Trucks bringing aid from Egypt have delivered some food, water and medicine, but the United Nations says the quantity of food is just 10% of what is needed for the territory's inhabitants, most of whom have been displaced.
Children in Rafah queue up to fill their buckets and hands with water. It's a rare sight in recent weeks. The water comes from 3 plants built on the Egyptian side of the border and has only recently started being pumped into the south of the Strip.
We were really suffering. We would have to bring seawater to fill the tanks. This water is very good in comparison. We can actually drink it. It tastes like sugar. It's drinkable. Look.
But without electricity or infrastructure, it's close to impossible to distribute the little water available beyond the border town of Rafah. The UN says people in the south access less than 2 litres of water per day, not only to drink, but to cook and wash, a number far below the recommended requirement for survival. Many are forced into deciding on whether to drink or eat. A World Food Programme report exposes the scale of hunger in Gaza.
The entire population of Gaza, that's roughly 2.2 million people, are in crisis or worse levels of acute food insecurity. 26% of Gazans, that's more than 500,000 people, have exhausted their food supplies and coping capacities and face catastrophic hunger and starvation.
The humanitarian situation is exacerbated by the destruction of sanitation facilities. Even in the south, which is where the Israeli military has told Palestinians to flee to, the hundreds of thousands of displaced Gazans live in squalor. UNICEF warns the lack of clean water means large-scale disease outbreaks are looming.
More than 500,000 people in Gaza, a quarter of the population, are starving, according to a report Thursday by the United Nations and other agencies, highlighting the humanitarian crisis caused by Israel's bombardment and siege on the territory in response to Hamas's October 7th attack.
From afar in Gaza, the bombings are smoke and rubble. Up close, the cascading reality they and Israeli blockades have created. Destruction, death, and disease are horrific. According to Gaza's health ministry, led by the Hamas government, over 20,000 Palestinians have been killed in the Gaza Strip since fighting began in October. The United Nations says Gaza's medical services are collapsing. Just 9 of 36 health facilities were partially functioning, and all of them are in the south, with no functioning hospitals in the north. A team coordinator for the World Health Organization filmed how repeated strikes on Al-Shifra Hospital have gutted the complex.
We've just brought some additional medical supplies, and we talked about bringing in a team of surgeons and additional providers, doctors, nurses. But actually what the staff said is what the hospital first needs is fuel. Fuel is the blood of a hospital. It's what makes the generator run, what keeps the lights on, which makes all the machines work.
Fuel, food, and water blockades are creating another tragedy in Gaza. UN agencies say for weeks just 10% of its food needs have been coming in.
I've seen Afghanistan, I've seen Yemen, I've seen Syria, I've seen South Sudan, I've seen Northeast Nigeria, pretty much everywhere. I've never seen something at this scale as is happening in Gaza and at this speed.
1 in 4 residents in Gaza, or more than 500,000 people, are now starving, making them even more susceptible to death and disease.
A jury cleared 3 Washington State police officers of all criminal charges in the 2020 death of Manuel Ellis, a black man who was shocked, beaten, and restrained face down on a Tacoma sidewalk as he pleaded for breath.
In March 2020, Manuel Ellis was beaten, tasered, and tied face down by 3 police officers on a pavement in Washington State. The man repeatedly cried out that he could not breathe, but was ignored. His death sparked an outcry. All 3 officers were charged with manslaughter and 2 of them with second-degree murder. But on Thursday, a jury cleared the 3 police officers of all criminal charges, releasing them on a non-guilty verdict. Devastated and angry at the court decision, protesters gathered in Tacoma. At the front of the crowd was Manny Ellis's sister.
They can kill my ass. They can beat the shit out of me, just like they beat the shit out of my brother.
This verdict undoubtedly elicits a wide range of emotions from each and every one of us, including myself. Specifically, I want to acknowledge the anger, the distrust, the doubt, the fear, the hurt, and the exhaustion that we as Black people have experienced as a result of the history of policing in this country.
The Pierce County medical examiner said his death was caused by oxygen deprivation, but the officer's lawyers argued that Ellis died of a fatal amount of methamphetamine in his blood and a pre-existing heart condition. In an email, the Ellis family lawyer cast doubt on the trial, claiming the defense repeatedly brought up Manuel's past arrests, which prejudiced the jury against him.
A top-level U.S. delegation will head to Mexico soon to discuss concerns on migration after the 2 countries' leaders spoke on the phone and agreed urgent action was needed. Presidents Joe Biden and Andres Manuel Lopez discussed ongoing efforts to manage migratory flows, according to a White House readout, and also called for swift implementation of enforcement measures.
In the town of Eagle Pass, hundreds of people wait in the cold to be processed by U.S. border officials. In recent weeks, illegal border crossings have seen a surge, straining immigration services. President Biden, who is seeking re-election next year, is trying to regain control of the issue. He has been under significant political pressure to curb the numbers.
President had a chance this morning to speak by phone with President López Obrador of Mexico. The 2 leaders agreed that additional enforcement actions are urgently needed so that key ports of entry can be reopened across our shared border. President Biden has asked Secretary of State Tony Blinken, Secretary of Homeland Security Alejandro Mayorkas, and White House Homeland Security Advisor Liz Sherwood Randall to travel to Mexico in coming days.
The U.S. president has been accused by Republicans of being too lax on immigration. In recent weeks, border police have been recording almost 10,000 people crossing the border every day. This comes as the governor of Texas signed a bill on Monday, effectively criminalizing the illegal entry of migrants, with penalties ranging from 180 days in jail to 20 years in prison. The law, known as SB 4, will also give local authorities the power to deport migrants to Mexico and is set to come into force in March.
I'm also signing Senate Bill 3 from the 4th special session. Senate Bill 3 adds $1.54 billion more to build more border barriers and walls like what we have here.
The Biden administration's takeover comes at a time when parliamentarians in Washington are discussing an agreement on immigration, a condition imposed by the Republicans in order to unblock the financial aid to Ukraine sought by the president.
It's 13 minutes before 8 o'clock. We've come to the end of our international news. Let's take a break. Nasibuya sibuka temidlalo with our sports journalist Linda Mastalamini. Welcome back. Sakuvusela nawo losandzako sivulela lamuhla. It's a beautiful Monday morning, the 25th of December. It is Christmas Day. Sibukade nje tindzaba tetemidlalo lebetenteka kulempela somvo with our sports journalist Linda Mastalamini. Saqala nje ngebuka ama games MTN Premier League njengoba nje sitakhumbula ukuthi the first round seyiphelile. Sifuna ukuvanje lapha kumlangeni ukuthi nakabuka yena as analyst yefu lapha ekhaya ngimaphe nje amacembu ladlale kahle. Nkosi, good morning and welcome. Sabonga ukuthi and Merry Christmas to you.
Merry Christmas.
Yeah,
Merry Christmas. Nakuye umbukelo weSwatini TV ngekuthoba lokukhulu kube ngumnyaka lomuhle. Ngicabanga ukuthi kuhlalisana naye umbukeli simlethele dona indzaba tetemidlalo kube involve enhle. Ukhuluma ngaye MTN Premier League idlaliwe imidlalo leng-13 lelishumi namithathu yesigaba sekuqala sayi MTN Premier League. Nawubuka acishe solokuqalile in fact nje solokuqalela umnyaka siyakhumbula ukuthi umnyaka ikhalenda year yebhola ngulo 2023 avela uqala January kuphethe ngayo December, but nawubuka kulamaqembu lecishe ende kahle singasho ukuthi licembu layo iGreen Mamba lelihlethethule esicongweni. Uyakhumbula ukuthi iGreen Mamba ama defending champions ayo iM10 Premier League bayiwina ileague baphinze bayiwina futhi Trade Fair Cup. Ngiyakhumbula bayiwina Trade Fair Cup bayiwinile futhi first round carrot 100,000 lokusho ukuthi nje kulomnyaka wa 2023 lokungenani bakhe imali leng 1.4 million naso ufaka konke singasho nje ukuthi yona Green Mamba a team of the year nasingabeka kanjalo ngala ebholeni badlalile even though bakhale phasi emidlalweni ngalesihlanu weM10 Premier League ku Royal Leopard. Uyayibona iRoyal Leopard seyibuyile nayo iya compete ihlethi ngetulu kwayo iMbabane Swallows but kunalelinye licembu lengicabanga ukuthi nalo worth mentioning yona iMadlenya lunayibuka ukuthi ihlethe enzaweni yesine leli cembu leli Lulu seyisizini yalo yesibili lika Premier League kodwa buka la lihleti khona and ngeke ngicabanga ukuthi licembu leli phinze leladlala kahle na ku Trade Fair Cup inawukhumbula kahle ukuthi ladlala lagcina lifike esigabeni sama quarter finals lapho khona lagcina likhala phasi ku Young Buffaloes. Ngicabanga ukuthi nalo lidlalile kulomnyaka wa 2023 nalo lidzinga kushayelwa tandla and nawubuka ngendlela lasebabuye badlala ngayo ngicabanga ukuthi iMadlenya ithusela abanyenti kakhulu kule second season yabo khona ka M10 Premier League. Young Buffaloes 20 points ihlethi ku number 5 ayikaqali kahle kodwa ngicabanga ukuthi bangajabula ngendlela labacitse ngayo ema games ekuqala first round yayo M10 Premier League kulandzela ukuthi bashaye iMbabane Highlanders ngemagoli lasihlanu ecanzeni. Mbabane Highlanders njoba ngisho ukuthi ikhale phasi kuyo iYoung Buffaloes tinvate bahambeli kahle ngicabanga ukuthi so lokwendeka nako lokwendeka nakuqala isizini lendlulile ukuthi bakhulume bahambise umciceshi eNesimavuso lwagcina sasa iGreen Mamba tinvo atihambi kahle kuyo iMbabane Highlanders bakhale phasi kule weekend emidlalweni wogcina first round ku Young Buffaloes 5-0 Dumsani Makhanya lo cicisha yona iMbabane Highlanders ngicabanga ukuthi experienced coach but tikhona mhlambe timvo leti samshaya yes kule game lena ukhale kakhulu ngered card letholwe ngugoalkeeper wakhe Khanyekezwe lobambe ibhola angaphandle kwe18 lakhala ukuthi akayiboni kahle but overall nawubuka le first round vele timvo atika bahambeli kahle then lengaphasi kunamacembu la njengabo Monen Pirates Manzini Wanderers ngicabanga ukuthi bonke uzucabaya ukuthi nawukhuluma ngerelegation candidates ukungakhuluma ngayo iManzini Wanderers kanye neMonen Pirates nawubuka kuma positions laba kuwo in fact nayo iDenver Sundowns ngeke siyishiye ngaphandle because nayo ayikho kashane kakhulu lama teams lawa nje lang 3 asedolobheni lakaManzini ma teams lawa lanemlandvo Lulu emidlalweni webhola kaNgwane ngicabanga ukuthi laba khona timvo akameli ngabe bakhona bane history Manzini Wanderers. Yes, the last time they won yona league back in 2003 so ngicabanga ukuthi but still a big team inebalandzeli Monen Pirates the last time bawina i-trophy back in 2015 nabawina yona iEswatini Bank Cup. Denver Sundowns ngicabanga ukuthi team ya chairman le tinvo nabo atibahambeli kahle kumele ukuthi benyuse amasokisi otherwise natawuchubeka kanje 2 wala ma teams lengiwamentionile atawudliwa inkemba.
Yeah, tindzaba letibhlungu leti master buka nje Manzini Wanderers Highlanders one of the big teams nje lapha eSwatini, but in the interest of time I'd like us to move on to our neighbors. Sibuka nje DStv SADStv Premiership results sibuka ukuthi wona amacembu wadlala kanjani this weekend.
Yes, nakhona iqhubekile imidlalo yeDStv Premiership even labo makhelwane lapho khona kadlalile amacembu more especially lamakhulu Kaizer Chiefs bedlala neRichards Bay. URichards Bay ke siyathi ukuthi kunemidlalo lapha eSwatini Justice Figueredo lesambona adlala a good game, but yona i-Kaizer Chiefs yagcina iwinile lo mdlalo nga 1-0. Ngicabanga good result for yona i-Kaizer Chiefs as bagcina kudlala imidlalo kulomnyaka wa-2023. Orlando Pirates bedlala ne-SuperSport United, ihostile yona SuperSport United yagcina iwinile ke yona i-SuperSport United ngamagoli amathathu kulinye. Ngiyathi ukuthi kule game le kube nekukhuluma lokunyenti lulu bathanzi balandzeli be-Orlando Pirates kunelijezi liphose libe lime bathi abazange sebake bawine bagcoke leli jezi lelo, but asadi ukuthi le bakuthatha philo, but kulamanye ama results TS Galaxy iwinile Golden Arrows. iGolden Arrows kulamalanga icale kahle isizini, but kulamalanga ayikacethi kahle yona imidlalo ye DStv Premiership. Bakhale phansi ku TS Galaxy 2-0. Royal AM nayo iMorocco Swallows badlalile ngemidlalo badraw 0-0. Itolo bekudlala iMamelodi Sundowns ama defending champions idlala ne Cape Town City, idrawile nayo 0-0. Ayikavami ke iMamelodi Sundowns kungalishaya igoli, more especially kude past 5 seasons bavamise nje kwashaya emagoli, but still bahlete khona esicongweni sayo iDStv Premiership. Banamaphuzu lang 34, balandzelwa iSuperSport United ya Kevin Hunt bana 29, even though yona iMamelodi Sundowns idlala games lang 12, larabanye badlale 15. Cape Town City nayo ayikasaleli emuva. Orlando Pirates number 4, Stellenbosch number 5, 6, Kaizer Chiefs. Ngicabanga ukuthi ema teams la ready ku compete noma i-team le ready compete nayo i-Sundowns, iSuperSport, ema teams asePitoli.
Alright, quickly nje masakilo 2 minutes let's take a look at my results APL sibuke nje nama locks ukuthi ingabe kuhambe kanjani.
Again excuse me, isikhatha umnyaka wa 2023 elicembu leArsenal lihlete esicongweni just like last season nakuthathwa i-break kiwe kule cup. Idlala ne-draw ya 1-1 nayo iLiverpool e-Anfield. E-Anfield ke i-atmosphere yakhona iyabenda abadlali ukuthi bangakhona ukudlala kahle, but iArsenal ikhonile ikhamba ithola point. Yes, even nake game ledlulile iLiverpool beyidrawile 0-0 neManchester United, but beautiful game kuyibukela. Alinye igame Aston Villa, iAston Villa kube yayiwina igame eSheffield United beyihlala esicongweni, but yagcina idrawile 1-1. Tottenham Hotspurs yawina 2-1. Ngicabanga ukuthi nayo bosong bachubeka nekudlala kahle, but on Saturday bekudlala yona iWest Ham idlala nayo iManchester United, lapho khona iWest Ham yagcina iwinile nga 2-0. Nayo ke iManchester United team atihambeli nezinani kahle, ngicabanga ukuthi mhlambe team ukudinga ukuthi yena Erik ten Hag asheshe atishintshe. Lenye i-team Luton Town iwinile ku Newcastle, but nawubuka ilog lapha eTulu njoba sengishilo ukuthi Arsenal again Christmas Day namuhla bahlete esicongweni balandzelwa iLiverpool nga 39, Aston Villa nayo ina 39 bambene nayo iLiverpool. Tottenham Hotspur nayo number 4. Manchester City ma World Champions lawinile iClub World Cup bahleti number 5, but lengaphasi nawubuka emsileni cishe ima teams langathi akhonile ayatawukhona kubalekele relegation. Everton ngicabanga ukuthi bayiphuca 10 points, but ikhonile ukuthi ibuye irecover. Ngicabanga ukuthi it's been a good year umnyaka wa 2023 nawubuka nje cishe tonke tingoni noma tindzaba tetemidlalo mhlaba wonke lapha ekhaya labo makhelwane kanye nangesheya kwetilwandle.
Alright, so khona master mbukeli, there you have it, my results MTN Premier League, EPL kanye ne DStv Premierships. Mawakho ukuthi nibe nathi lo mhla ekseni. We do hope ukuthi nidaba nelanga lelihle naleli busisekile. Have a beautiful Merry Christmas. Insala kahle.